I'm going to turn my camera on probably while I talk. Okay. Anyway, we're super excited to get going still. We, have our first month down. We appreciate everybody that's been coming. We met today as a committee and we are excited. We're going to start doing some more prizes. If you attend so many meetings, we haven't finalized all that. So there'll be a lot to come. So look for it on Facebook and other media and we'll just get more prizes going. And Sharilee's going to do our stuff today on finance.
Okay, so are you ready?
Yep.
All right, let me get back to, sorry guys, I ended up in a meeting that I wasn't planning to be in. So let me just get situated back here and turn my camera on. Looks like Casey is joining us. So just to be sure, Kim, do you also have access to let people in and whatnot?
Yeah, I've been letting people in. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So let me turn my camera on. There we go. Hey, everybody. Okay, so today our topic is on investing and particularly with a focus on helping kids get, preparing for kids' college and whatnot. But we're going to start actually with the end in mind. So I want to do a little bit of a review, some of the things that we've talked about, and just kind of looking at where we want to be. Okay. So first of all, as we've talked about before, really our end goal is that when you reach retirement age, you want to be in that place of financial stability, financial peace, and of course all the way along. But we're working to get there. Financial security basically means you have no debt. Sorry, I just got a message that might be important. Tori, do I need to check that now?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
That wasn't
Okay.
about what
Anyone
we're
on the
doing
team, please don't send me messages during this. Okay, thank you. Okay, so so where you want to be is basically having no debt, and by that, going along with no debt, you have your emergency fund in place, which is 3 to 6 months of living expenses. You've got your annual expenses like taxes, insurance, and believe it or not, Christmas comes every single year, so you can plan for that. Okay, make sure that you've got what you're going to spend for Christmas and birthdays and those things that you can plan for, and then of course insurances. And again, with insurances, we'll talk about that in a minute, just kind of the overall plan. But you basically want to have no debt. You want to have some residual income and low needs. So yeah, let's talk about each of those just very briefly. So we talked about that with having no debt. Let's finish up like with the insurances. You guys, insurance is so important because no matter how well you have prepared, if you are not properly insured, I mean, a medical emergency, a medical crisis can wipe out the best laid plans, okay? So you need to make sure that, have your health insurance in place. There are lots of different options depending on your situation. If you have health insurance through a company, that is, usually that is very sufficient and they cover your health costs. What you want to avoid is leaving yourself open to a situation where a major health crisis wipes out everything that you have worked for and puts you in significant debt. So so make sure you have your health insurance in place. Auto insurance, again, it's going to depend on your situation as to how much you need. Basically it's the cost versus the the value of the of the car. So of course you need to carry what's it called? Anyway, you have the basic insurance that covers the other car. But on your own vehicle, if you're driving a brand new, $25,000 vehicle and maybe you've paid cash for it, that's great. Like we talked about, before. But if something were to happen, you want to look at, can I handle that? Okay, if you're driving an old beater vehicle, then maybe you don't need to cover full coverage. Okay, you need to have the coverage that is going to cover the other person in an accident if you're at fault. Okay, but you want to look at that. And this your home, obviously you need to have your home covered. You guys, if something were to happen, your home burns to the ground, usually people can't just go out and replace a home, and there's significant loss there. Even if you have the cash to go out and replace it, there is significant loss. So you're going to want to make sure. And then of course with life insurance, this is another thing, and it depends on your situation. Okay, if you are ultimately, you want to be self-insured when it comes to life insurance. Okay, and again, that means a situation where if something were to happen, if you're a single individual and no one is relying on you, then that's a situation where if something were to happen to you, you're not leaving anyone devastated. If if you're later in life, you don't have children. Again, if something were to happen to you, you don't have someone relying on you. That's something that you're going to want to work with your financial advisor to know where you're at. But if you're in a situation, if you are the breadwinner and you have, a wife and children or spouse and children that are relying on you for their substance for them to be able to live, you want to make sure that you have life insurance, that if something happens to you, these things happen. And we're more aware of that, now than ever before, but it's not just during COVID. There are things that happen. This is another thing that I heard, actually, you want to check your policies right now to make sure, because there are some people that are having issues with their policies. If they take the vaccination, then it impacts their life insurance. And so you want to make sure that what is in your life insurance. And you guys, if any of you, I am life licensed as well. So if any of you want help looking at your life insurance policy to make sure that it is, that you are covered in today's situation, feel free to let me. I would be happy to look through that and to
Hey,
see.
Sharilee.
Yes.
I didn't know if you were going to touch on this, but before you kind of moved on, I wanted to say that I've been told, and I believe that just because, let's say, a stay-at-home mom doesn't have a job and doesn't bring in an income, doesn't mean that you cannot put a value on her, because if she's not there, dad has to expend a certain amount of money to take care of the home and the family, and that costs. They want. I think the latest figure was in the $40,000 a year range to replace mom.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up, Megan. And I apologize, you guys, I'm getting dings all over the place, and they look like, if there's something, again, that I need to address, you guys don't message me right now, please. Say it, or say, Sharilee, you need to check, because sorry, it's very distracting and making it hard for me to focus on this. But yes, that is absolutely true, Megan. Basically, and again, this is why it's really important to sit down with a financial advisor and go over, know where you're at, have a plan, and know where your finances are, and look at all of these things. What would happen if we had a health emergency? Are we sufficiently covered? What would happen if we have if there was a car accident, which actually would bring on the health issue and, the loss of a car? And yes, with life insurance, a mother is absolutely invaluable. Both parents are invaluable to a family. And so again, you need to look at the cost. And again, in today's world, a lot of moms are contributing financially as well. And so you need to sit down and look at the full picture, the big picture. Again, here's where we are. here's where we want to be, here's what we need to do to get there, and here's how we make sure that any kind of emergency is covered. So yes, thank you for pointing that out, Megan. Absolutely very important. Okay, residual income. You guys, there are lots of places that you can have this. We're going to talk today specifically about investments, okay, and specifically investments like in the stock market, okay, and with, you know, with the kids, the 529s. But there are also, you know, other ways that you can create this residual income, okay? You've got, well, first of all, even in the investments, you know, there's Bitcoin right now, okay? There's real estate investment. There are royalties, okay? If you write a book and you continue to get, you know, you get royalties off of that. So it's kind of that situation of work now and getting paid later. That would be the same like with business income, okay? If you were a business owner, you create a business that is going to, you know, create income even after you quit working. Now, there are differences between, again, you want to look at your situation. Just because you own a business doesn't necessarily mean that's going to create residual income, okay? Well, just as an example, okay, so my husband owns his own business, has a great, he's very good at what he does. However, when he quits working, that funding is not going to come in, okay? That he goes now, he does the work, he gets paid for the work, but when he quits going to work and showing up, that will not create residual income for him. Now, selling the business will, okay? So again, that is a great investment for us in, you know, in the real estate. We have a couple of homes in his business, so that's part of our real estate investments. Okay, but then you have the type of work. So my work, the type of work that I do is actually a situation where it will create residual income. So basically in fact, that's a lot of what it is designed is to create a retirement, a situation where the income will continue. I actually basically do a lot of work for, I guess it's not totally free, but anyway, I do a lot of work for not a lot, but the goal is to build a business that then creates a retirement. Very similar to our, you know, to our investments are in the stock market and our investments in Bitcoin. We do have a little bit of, well, not necessarily a little bit either. I guess that depends. We've got investments in the stock market. We've got investments in Bitcoin. We've got real estate investments. And you know what? Be the bank. I mean, when it comes to, oops, it looks like we've got someone else wanting to enter. Okay. When it comes to interest, you guys, as we've talked about before, those who understand interest pay it. Those who don't understand interest pay it. Those who understand interest make it, okay? And we're actually in that situation where we have, you know, made some loans that we know are good, solid loans. And so we make interest instead of these individuals going to a bank and paying the interest to the bank. Well, and I guess I'll just say, so it's, you know, with one of our kids, when they were, you know, going to get a loan to do some home improvements, we said, hey, you know, we'll get the loan from us and pay us the interest. And so we set up the situation. And so it works out nicely for them and it works out nicely for us because we get that interest income. So basically being the bank. Anyone else have some ideas on residual income? Is there anything that I have forgotten there? Nothing? Okay, just know that, so if you have no debt, you have residual income. And then again, the low needs that we talked about. You know, if you can pay cash for something you want, you guys go for it. Okay. Like we talked about in one of the sessions before, there is absolutely nothing wrong with wanting to have a better lifestyle, as someone brought up. That's what, you know, hopefully that's what all of us are working towards, you know, like Megan talked about with your car, you know, start out with the older car that only costs a few $1,000s and then pay yourself until you can upgrade into a newer car and then upgrade into, you know, the newer car and the nicer car. There is absolutely nothing wrong. In fact, you guys can probably see in my background, okay? I have a grand piano. That's kind of been my life's dream. That's something that I wanted, but I paid cash for it, okay? It's not something that I'm paying interest on. When it's time, when you can pay cash for something that you want, there is absolutely, nothing wrong with, with having that. And we're not in any way, saying that you, by saying low needs, saying, hey, live frugally, don't ever enjoy anything. I guess the other thing I love to do is travel. When I need to go see grandbabies, I will spend the money that it takes to go see those grandbabies. But again, you want to be sure that these other things are in place first, okay? That you have no debt, that you've paid off all of your debt, that you have some residual income in place, which can be your investments, which is what we're going to talk about today. And then just make sure that you're not just being frivolous, and make sure that you're not spending things that you're not spending on time, or I should say buying on time for things. It's going to cost you so much more in the long run, and really make it almost impossible for you to achieve that financial security that we're talking about. So let's go ahead. Let's talk about some investments. And I want to actually run some numbers here. So let's see. Looks like I must have moved off of the page I wanted to be on. Okay. So let's come back and share that. Okay, so we are going to run some numbers for you here. We're going to work with the example that Megan used, okay, for the car. And I don't know if you guys will be able to see. Can you see my calculator? Can anyone see my
You
calculator?
can see something that looks like a,
Okay, but you
it's
can't.
like an online calculator, compound interest calculator.
Okay, yes, you can see that one, but you can't see my small calculator, right?
I cannot.
Okay, well, I will just tell you the numbers. So we're going to take that, we're going to kind of run that car example that, purchasing a car that Megan talked about several weeks ago. Okay, so if you have a car payment, they say the average car payment in America is $450 a month. Okay, so $450 a month times 12 months is $5,400. And usually that's for 5 years. I've heard they're getting even longer, which is not good. But anyway, okay, if you pay that for the 5 years, that is $27,000 that you pay for a car. Oh, I meant to look up. In fact, let's do something. Is anyone aware of maybe a car that you purchased in the past that we could even compare how much the car cost versus the monthly payment? Does anyone have an example where they know exactly how? Well, you know what? Actually, I do. I know of a situation, and it actually was the 450. It's like $454 a month. And the car was a $20,000 car. So that is you're paying about $27,000 on a $20,000 car. Okay. So that is, first of all, you've lost the $7,000 there. Again, just think if you were to pay yourself that interest, if you were to pay that to yourself, you would have that money to basically upgrade into a newer car like Megan talked about. However, let's look at now opportunity cost as well. Taking that same car, okay, so if we have a $450 car payment, okay, we start with the first month, and then we're going to put $450 for 5 years. Whoops. Okay. The average interest rate, we're going to focus this on kind of what you can expect from an investment. Now, again, and I'm going to say this kind of once, and this carries the whole time, okay? When it comes to investments, nothing is secure. That's one of the things about with investments. These are not, the investments that we're talking about today, they're not FDIC insured or, any of that. And basically the higher the risk, the higher the return, the lower the risk, the lower the return. Okay, so for this, we're going to go kind of a mid-level is a 6% interest rate. So let's figure that at it's pretty easy to find an investment that will, that will bring back about a 6% return. Okay, so if it's at 6%, okay, and we're going to change this to monthly. Okay, the compounding basically means, so instead of taking that out, so for example, you invest $10,000. Okay, you get that maybe on that $10,000, you make $100 in a month. Instead of pulling that $100 out, you leave that $100 in. So now next month, you're getting paid the interest on the $1,100, and then you make another, $101. So then the next month. So that's what the compounding means. Okay, if you were to do this and it compounds monthly, you guys, that's an additional $32,000 in those 5 years that you would have ended up with the 32,000 instead of having paid out the 27,000, you would now have $32,000, and that's just in the 5-year period. Okay. Now let's run this as if, okay, so we have let's come back here. How much did we have? We have 32,000. Okay. Let's take that $32,000 and we're never going to contribute again. We're just going to see what happens if we have that $32,000 that we have saved from not having that car payment for that 5-year period. And now we're going to do that until retirement. So let's say for about the next 30 years. Okay. We're going to kind of run these as a young mid-20s person. Okay. So they're mid-20s. Then they they have the 5 years that they're making the payments. So then they're 30, and then they just let that sit until they're 60 years old, again, at that same 6% interest rate. You guys, that's almost $200,000 that you can retire with. Okay. Any thoughts, comments? Let's bring that back up and let's do, well, okay, we've got the $32,000. Let's continue to make the payment. So we're going to continue to make that $450 payment, which again, many families are doing this because, I mean, it's as Megan talked about, doing what most people do. Okay. We want to live like nobody else so that we can live like nobody else. When we live like everybody else, it's kind of the common acceptance that everyone will have a car payment, that you just have a car payment. So again, you've had that car for 5 years, you pay it off. Now you just go out and buy another new car because that one's old, and the newer cars, now have new things that they like. So we'll go ahead and we'll make that $450 car payment for those 30 years. Any guesses on what we're going to have at the end? Come on, guys, I want guesses.
I'm going to say $800,000.
Okay, that's a good guess. Let's see what it is. Okay, so 644,754. Remember, that's at 6% interest. So that's kind of your mid-range interest. Okay, now, if you have your money that sits in the stock market for 30 years, okay, and again, if you're in a situation where you're investing in the stock market, this is for retirement, you've got 30 years, you have that time to maybe do a little riskier investments when you're young, move it towards the less risky when you're older. So let's say it averages out at 10% interest. So maybe in those early years, you're making, I mean, sometimes you can be making 12, 15%. And again, these are all just, nothing's guaranteed, but these are just kind of some, you know, numbers for that kind of the past has borne out. Again, nobody knows the future. Nobody knows the future. So if somebody tries to tell you they know the future, don't believe them. Okay. But so you're making maybe, you know, 12 to 15% for some of those years. As you're getting closer to retirement, you want to start moving towards, you know, the more secure. Okay. Where do you think we're going to be at 10% interest? Any guesses?
It's going to be over $1 million. That's my guess.
It is going to be over $1 million. It's going to be 1.6 million. Okay. So you guys, this is the reason that you want to invest. Okay. Keeping in mind that, I mean, things continue to get more and more expensive. So you're going to need, now that sounds like, that may sound like a lot to retire on, but the reality is that's actually not a lot to retire on, again, depending on how long you're going to live in retirement, and you know what your needs are in retirement. So again, you need to have these different investments. Okay, any questions on that? Does everybody understand kind of what we did? I wonder if, let me see if this, okay, it does. You guys, I do want you to look at this though, okay? Because here's the other thing that's really important, okay? So in year one, you have the 32,000. In year two, you're up to 41,000, okay? Even by, if you go out to year 10, where did year 10 jump on me? Okay. Okay, you guys, at year 10, you're still at 178,000, okay? You're still under the 200,000, okay? But this is where that compound interest starts kicking in, okay? Well, it's kicking in the whole time. But look at in year 20, okay? In year 20, you're just over $500,000. It's these last 10 years where it jumps up to that 1.6 million. So what's the lesson that we learned from this? Anybody?
I think it's the lesson you learn in anything. Patience pays off.
Okay, very good. Yes, patience pays off. And what else? When should we start?
Early.
Yes. You guys, you want to start early. You want to start even just with small amounts, okay? You would be surprised at even what a small amount can do if you start early and you give it that time, okay? So let's go ahead and look at, first of all, some of your investing priorities, okay? So, I mean, everybody wants to retire someday, okay? Nobody wants to be working until the end of their lives. Now, this is kind of a funny thing because we have some people, you guys, there are actually a lot of people that that's what keeps them going. In fact, my husband will say, you know, the day you quit working is the day you die, okay? There are some people who want to work, okay? But here's the thing, okay? As a financial advisor, retirement is when you go to work because you want to, not because you have to. In fact, Tim, I hope you won't be offended if I share a little bit. I know my friend Tim Keaty with USU Extension. You guys, he does not have to go to work, okay? He's basically retired. He goes to work because he loves what he does, because he has so many resources to contribute to our community and communities across the state. I mean, this man is amazing. And so I'm super glad that he is willing to share that. And he, you know, he works in a field that he loves doing and where he's able to really contribute a big difference. And, you know, Tim is the type of person, he will never quit working. Now, he might quit, you know, as far as with a job. He may not be with USU. He may not be getting a paycheck forever, you know, but he's the type of individual, when he's in his 80s and 90s, he will be contributing his wealth of knowledge and experience. So that's, just keep in mind when we talk about retirement, retirement is that point where you do what you do, you go to work because you want to. Okay, because it's something that you love doing. But if you want to take, a week off and go see, grandkids, you can do that. If you have, an illness that you have to take some time off, for some health issues or whatever, it's not like, oh my goodness, where are we going to, how are we going to pay the bills and whatnot?
Shirley,
Okay.
can I ask something really quick?
Yes.
Because I am old, I'm still working, so I like to do it, but what I think what Shirley's saying is great, because we need to remember not all of us are going to want to retire early or do something different, but I have family members who retired early. I have other family members who worked till they were just in their late 40s. So people do take different time. The thing that I've been grateful and lucky enough to do is that with some of the funds that I have, I'm able to help my children and my grandchildren and other people in the community that may need it. We've been blessed to be able to do that. So it has been beneficial. And even though, like I said, I probably will never stop working if I can, but it gives me options of what I can do to help others too, which I think has been important for my family.
Yes, thank you for pointing that out, Tim. That is so important. And yes, we all have different things that matter. And so even like the work, as you mentioned, some people quit working maybe, and usually when we say that, people are thinking, a job, they get up and go to work, 9 to 5 or whatever. But again, it's, some people will do that because they love to do it. Even those who have retired early, they're probably still contributing. And I guess, maybe not. There may be some that they retire and travel. Okay. But take, for example, with myself, you guys, technically I am retired. Okay. I am doing now. I work as hard now as I ever have in my life because I love what I'm doing and because it's making a positive difference and it's helping other people to achieve that financial stability. So, but yeah, I do it because I want to, not because, if I wanted to stop tomorrow and quit doing what I'm doing, you couldn't do that. Okay. That's what retirement is when you have that choice. Okay. So, so how do we get there? Okay. Your investing priorities. Okay. First of all, you guys, if you work for a company that has a company match, do that. Okay. That it's free money. Okay. So that is going to be your first priority. Check with your work, find out if they have a matching 401k option, or if you're with a nonprofit, it'll be called different, 401b, but you guys check with your company. And if they have a matching program, you want to max out the matching. Now, what I mean by that is, some companies, maybe they'll match 100% up to 5% of your income. Okay. So if you make, again, we're going to do this just to, make numbers easy. I'm going to stick with the $1,000. Okay. it makes it really easy to figure. So if you make $1,000 a month, okay, 5% of that is going to be $50. Right. And and then the company will match that 100%. You guys, that's $100. Okay. That's $50 free every month. Do it. Okay. Some companies will say, okay, we'll match 50% up to 8% of your income. Okay. So if you make $1,000, $80 is 8%. The company's going to throw in 40%. Do it. Okay. That's free money. That is your first priority, is to max out your company match. Now, once your company match is maxed out, okay, let's say, let's go back to the one that says, okay, we'll match, 50% up to 8%. Okay, so this person they're contributing $80. And then their company is matching them for $40. Okay, that's $120. But maybe they're saying, you know what, but I really want to contribute $300 a month. I have $300 a month to contribute. Okay, you want to take that additional amount. So basically, the $40 is your company. Okay, that's free. Okay, so you want to take the $80, minus from the $300. You have $240 left per month that you want to invest. that you want to put into something that you control, an account that, and you want it to be a Roth IRA. Okay. Let me, and I mean, I hope some of this is, let me know it. Well, I guess you guys don't know what everybody knows and what everybody doesn't. So anyway, I'm going to go over this in case there are people that don't necessarily understand the difference between a traditional, usually with your company. Okay. If they've got you in a, in a 501k with your company, is going to be traditional. Okay. What that means is that it goes in before taxes. Okay. So they take that out before you pay taxes on it. And then you will pay the taxes when you take it out. Okay. So in retirement, let's say you've got a traditional IRA. Okay. Now it will grow. Remember, you're putting that in there. It's going to grow significantly by the time you retire. When you are in retirement and you're taking that out, okay, you will be paying taxes on it at that point. When you withdraw, you will pay taxes on it. Okay, now in a Roth, and this is the same as for like 501ks or with IRAs, the basic difference there is did I say 501k? 401k. Sorry guys. Okay, in your 401ks, your company basically, they put the money in there and they own it for you. Okay. They manage it. They make the decisions on where it goes. They have basically, they're the ones that determine the guidelines. Okay. On an IRA, okay, that is something that you basically, it's an individual retirement account. Okay, that's something that you control, you own. Now you own the money in the other one. Okay, don't get me wrong there. And know that there are also sometimes the companies will have their guidelines as to where you like get their match after you've worked for them a certain length of time and whatnot. Okay. And so again, you guys, you need to know this. Okay. This is stuff you want to know how it works. Okay. You don't want to quit your job, 2 weeks before it would kick in, before all of your matching would kick in and whatnot. But with an IRA, that's something that you control. So you've got your 401ks and your IRAs. Okay. Traditional means that the money is going in there before you pay taxes. Okay. So the benefits of that are that, let's say you have, basically that's less money that comes to you. So less money that you pay taxes on right now, because that money went in before taxes were paid. Okay. A Roth IRA is money that you invest after taxes. Okay. So, this is, you pay the taxes on it and then you turn around and invest it. Now, the benefit of that, however, is that all of that growth then grows tax-free. Okay. So in your retirement, and again, keep in mind, so you invest, you invest 100,000, it grows to $2 million. You are able to take that out, that full 2 million you get to take out tax-free. Any questions on that? Okay, I'm not seeing any. So okay. So again, your investment priorities, you want to do your company match, and then anything over and above what your company will match, you want to max out in a personal Roth IRA. And then the third priority, and again, you guys, and this might sound backwards, you're like, well, my kids are going to go to college before I retire. Okay. But you guys, this is, you need to think about your future, and you need to be preparing for your own retirement, so that you're not relying on your children in retirement to pay for you. You want to be, like Tim said, you want to be able to help your children rather than you having to, thank you for coming, Tim. We appreciate you being here. And we're going to start talking, we're going to go into the 529s in just a minute. So So your third priority is going to be with your children's education and or your personal investments, depending on your personal priorities. And you guys, this is why you need to know your finances. Okay. You need to know your situation and know what your priorities are. Okay. After you have fully funded your, like a personal Roth, if you want more, if you want to be able to put more, there are limits. I should have mentioned that. There are limits as to how much you can put in a Roth each year. Okay. Because it is growing tax-free. Okay. So, so if you have more, if you want to contribute more and you've worked with, your financial advisor and you need to have more even over the Roth, what you can fully fund your Roth with, you can put that then into an account, an investment account that continues to grow, that doesn't have the limits. Okay. The limit on the Roth is that you can't take that out prior to age 59 and whatnot. So there are guidelines on that. Okay, let's get into, so let's say you're taking care of your retirement and now it's time to start saving for your children's education. You guys, we are very, very lucky to live in Utah, has a really good 529 program. Every state has a kind of a 529 Save for College program. Utah's is actually very good. There's information, in fact, I will, Megan or Kim, would you guys search for the link online and just paste that into the.
Yeah, I can do that.
I should have sent it to you before. My apologies.
I'll get it.
But anyway, so we do have a really good program. And there are a couple of reasons for that. Okay, first of all, okay, with the 529, something that's really good about the 529s, they're tax deferred growth. Okay, so again, it's kind of doing for college, doing for education, the same thing that you're doing for your retirement. Okay, you're able to save money for your kids' education. Okay, now keep in mind, you don't have, now if you start as a baby, okay, if you start saving when they're babies, you have, the 18 years probably, okay, 18 to 19 years. So you don't have that full 30 years, but again, you can get that same, that growth up to with the 20 years. Okay, you do have tax-free withdrawals as long as it's used for education. Now, you guys, so this is another thing that you need to determine, okay, do we, how much do we need? Do we need the, for the education, how much? Okay, it does cover different educational options, even down to, there are things like, of course, universities are covered. Also technical colleges are covered. It even covers things like, going to hair school. Now you'd want to make sure that they're covered, okay? Because they're maybe not necessarily every program is, but this is basically for education. So there are a lot of educational options, but keep in mind that, your kids, not everyone, you guys, the university is not for everyone. Okay, some kids will choose to go to a technical college. And quite honestly, kids that go to a technical college right now make a lot of money. They pick up skills. I mean, we live in a world where skills are needed. And they pick up incredible skills that can provide them with everything that they need to have a wonderful career. It used to be back in, I guess I'll say mine and Megan's day, since we're a little older than the rest of you. I'm the oldest in the group now that, actually, I don't know, I might be older than Tim too. Anyway, there was a time when you needed a university degree. Having a university degree made a huge difference in what your income was. That is no longer necessarily the case. The cost of school, the cost of going to a university has absolutely skyrocketed, and the benefit, the increased benefit, it has not necessarily, kept up with the, again, with the options. Okay, kids can get they can pick up a skill at a technical college and have a wonderful career. And, you know, doctors, I mean, when we go to a doctor, obviously we hope that that doctor went to, went to school and got their degree and worked really hard. We want them to have a degree. We should also recognize that, I mean, I know we like to, you know, think that, oh, okay, doctors and lawyers and, you know, they go to school to make a ton of money. But you know what? And dentists is another one, you know, you guys, they also spend a lot of money to get those degrees. So yeah, that's, they come out of school usually with significant debt that then they need to pay off as they work through that. So again, you want to look at what you are actually going to need. Now, in most situations, and again, you need to be familiar with the 529 that you are going into, okay? Because each one may have different guidelines, different limitations. But with the 529, if you, let's say you have a child, you open a 529 in one child's name, and maybe they don't go to college. Okay, they opt that they're not going to go to an educational setting that qualifies under that. You can switch that to another child. Okay, so there are, I mean, you definitely want to save for kids' college. You know, if that's something that is a priority for you. And again, this is a parent's choice, and I'm not, I don't pass judgment on either situation. There are, you know, if parents want to pay for their children's education, I think that's great. And if parents want to have their children pay for their education, I think that's great. I've known situations, both types of situations, that worked out really, really well. So anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. But if you want to save for your child's education, the Utah My 529 system is a very, very good one. There are lots of different investment options. So it can be, they've got age related. I'm actually going to jump over to make sure I don't miss anything that I wanted to tell you. So you can, they've got age-based options, they've got static options, which means that it does not change the asset allocation as the beneficiary ages. Okay, it's just here's what we're doing. This is how we move forward. They've got some customized options, so you can basically design it to fit your own needs. And you can change your investment option twice a year. Okay, so again, it's important to know the guidelines of the 529 that you go in. Now, the other thing that I really like about my 529 is that it actually allows for you to continue to work with your financial advisor as well. Okay, I like the fact that they recognize, and it doesn't cost you any extra. Okay. So in working with, I mean, it is important to have a financial advisor that really understands finances, to have kind of the big picture, okay? And again, there are different types of financial advisors that you can work with. There are some that are like they charge an hourly, and then, you know, and then you go to other people for the products that they do. You work with them to determine, you know, what products do I need? I need, you know, health insurance and auto insurance and life insurance and investments and 529s. And okay, so they'll help you. They basically charge you hourly to help you determine that. And then you go find those products. There are other financial advisors that basically they help you at no cost, and then it's commission based. So as they help you with as you get the different products that you need, then they get a commission from that. Okay. Again, pros and cons both ways. I'm not going to share necessarily opinion on on who you work for on that, unless if you guys have specific questions, please share those, and I'll share that. But anyway, it really is good to work with a financial advisor and for them to have kind of the big picture of so they know your full financial situation, and then they're in a better situation to really be able to help you and know kind of what's going to work best for you. And with Utah's My 529, you do have that option to let basically have your investor help you manage it. Okay, again, doesn't cost you any extra. It's just you can give them an option to get in there and help you with managing it. You can qualify for a Utah tax income credit or deduction. Okay, so that's a really nice thing, and it can be used for any qualified educational expense. Okay, let me see. I think I saw a question. Okay. Oh, great question, Catherine. Okay, she said, does the 529 allow the funds to be taken out for living expenses during education, or is it purely for tuition and books? That is a really, really good question. And the answer is yes. There are, and again, check with your 529 program to make sure that you understand what they consider educational expenses. But most, pretty much every 529, I can't imagine one not having, they will have a certain amount that they basically say, this is how much it costs for, for kids to live, or maybe it's just, you have the receipts, whatever. Okay. But yes, most will allow for living expenses. Some will allow for like books to pay for, books and tuition, and maybe even a computer, if a computer is required. So yes, be familiar with what your particular 529 covers. But there's a wide range. It's not just books and tuition that's covered. Great question. Are there any other questions? Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions. I think we've covered the, kind of the basics of 529. Again, if there are other, specific questions that you have, in fact, let me give you my email address. Feel free to email me. You can just email Sharilee, SHARILEE at mydiscoverydestination.com. And I can answer those questions for you. I should have told you in the beginning, you guys, I am securities licensed. I've got my Series 6 and Series 63. That's actually what I did before My Discovery Destination happened. I actually am was a financial advisor. I still am. Oh, and Megan, I wanted to have one of my favorite my favorite clients is going to share with you, because you guys, this is, she gets it on all levels, pretty much everything that we talked about here. So I wanted her to actually share with you some of the things that she has learned, and especially her recent experience. The thing I love about Megan is she has made a goal, and she's willing to go without to make it happen. And I don't know that she's necessarily going without, again, because she lives wisely. She uses her money wisely, but she knows what she's working towards. Megan, go ahead and share if you would.
Okay, before I do, let me just put this thought out there about, you think about giveaways for today, because Kim and I were talking about that. I didn't know what our plan was. Okay, so I think I shared when I was our guest speaker, I think I shared that I went through a divorce last year, and I basically walked away from a paid for house, and we didn't have any debt, and we split things pretty equitably, but all of a sudden I was kind of responsible for myself, and I have been running my own business that we used to run together, and I bought my ex out in, we'll call it the settlement, and but I had some cash because of the settlement, and I socked it away in a mutual fund, a low risk mutual fund. And I did own a piece of property as well. I got that in the settlement too. And it's out of state, and I sold it and took the proceeds from that and socked it away in that same mutual fund. Now, I would like to own my own home again someday. I'm renting right now, but it's gonna be a while. I'm just trying to add a little bit as I can. The last stimulus that came in, I stuck it right in that fund, and I don't carry any debt. I live quite frugally. You guys would be amazed. In fact, I had my taxes filed last year and my accountant said, I hope you're not planning to buy a house because this tax return will not help you. But it's slowly growing. I'm just kind of biding my time. The housing market is still going the wrong way for buyers. So I have to say that the times that I've sat down and I've actually written out what I want to do, it happens, and it happens quite quickly. So I need to get it all written down on how much I want to put away, and how often, because it'll happen. And I'm living frugally. I'm working a lot. I can do that though, because I'm an empty nester and I'm kind of by myself. But I also have to say, I don't really feel like I'm going without. I'm just content with where I'm at and what I have, and I'm being careful. I've got insurances in place. I've got a will, and I'm just trying to be smart and avoiding debt at all costs, and not dip into my savings. Any other questions you wanted to ask me, Sharilee, or anybody?
No, that's pretty much it. The thing that I love is that she, I was quite surprised. So, so she did come to me knowing that I'm securities licensed. She came to me when she had that funding to set aside. So we, chose some funds again, because she's going to pull this out in, 5-6 years. I mean, this is fairly short term. So we chose some pretty secure, funds there. If it was, if she wasn't going to need it for 20-30 years, we probably would have gone a little riskier. Okay. But we did some pretty secure funds. And I have to tell you, I was pretty excited, but a couple of months, I don't know how long it had been in there when all of a sudden she called me, she goes, have you seen?
Yeah, it wasn't very long. It wasn't even 6 months, and it had really had some incredible growth. I was really excited. And that being said, I also have been contributing to a Roth IRA. Now there are limits on that, and it also depends on how much money you make and what kind of money it is. So check with your tax people. But I contribute as much as I can, as much as the law will allow me to. So I've got a little bit of retirement savings too. It's never too late to start, but I'm also working really hard to build some residual income. So there.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I was going to say. And she takes all of her extra, even without me, I guess we talked about that when we met and stuff, but she on her own has said, oh, okay, I've got this extra money, I'm putting it there. And she is also, as she mentioned, she is building residual income. Okay. Kind of the same thing that, it's the same business. Okay. With My Discovery Destination, she is putting in a lot of work right now. She does not get paid near what she is worth right now, but she knows that this will be retirement. Okay. So we're kind of, both of us and anyone that's, that's part of the team we're working now kind of the same as we invest in retirement for a bigger return later. We're building a business, not getting paid what we are worth for a bigger return later. So Megan just really understands it, which is why we asked her to do the sessions the last month. It's one thing to be learned, I guess, if you will, to know what to do. It's another thing to have done it. And Megan has done it. Megan taught her kids how to handle money well. And she continues, and she taught them through example, which it's been easy to see that. So you guys, we're out of time. Thank you so much for being part of Parent Conversations. We are going to, so the way we're going to be working this is basically we will be keeping track of who attends these sessions. And after you reach after you've attended 5 times, we'll put all of that together. But after you've attended a certain number of sessions, then you will be getting a family experience, which will work with you. So there's something in your area, something that you want to do. So I'm really excited about that. That's kind of the awards or the prizes and incentives that we're going to be giving out. So watch the group so that you, so that you'll have that all come together in the groups. Those will be announced in the groups. We've got some really great topics coming up for next month. So I'm going to let all of you go. Thanks so much for being here. And we will be in touch. And you guys, please make sure that we know how to contact you. Janelle and Catherine. And now who is Kay? Do we know who Kay is?
I don't know.
Okay.
It just says K.
All right. If you guys would please make sure that we know how to contact you so that we can, so we can get you your prizes and make sure that we really appreciate you being here. And so we'll see you next week. Stay tuned to the groups to find out what the topic will be. Thanks, everybody.